من الدين أما بعد ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. Thank you for coming, mashallah, in big number. If we can have any of the masjid management take some pictures, inshallah, for our MCNJ Facebook page. We take pictures in the back or in the front, inshallah. Salih, you can take pictures from here. It is a great honor for us to have Officer Trooper Sergeant Mudduser Malik from the New Jersey State Police over here. Just a brief bio of the officer. He's currently assigned to the Employee Relations and Community Outreach section in the State Police. He spearheaded a variety of community engagements, efforts across the state of New Jersey, while emphasizing partnerships between community-based organizations, interfaith leaders, municipal, county, state, and federal law enforcement partners. Some of the programs that the officer has been is spin-off of the Coffee with a Cop program, including with Chai with a Cop, Nosh with a Cop, Cafe Con Leche with a Cop, and a variety of other meet and greet events. Prior to this assignment, he served as detective with the Intelligence and Criminal Enterprise Section, working within the Motor Vehicle Crimes North Unit Auto Theft Task Force, the Central Security Unit, the Crime Suppression Central Unit, and the Crime Suppression North Unit. In October 2022, he was deployed to Puerto Rico with a contingent of the troopers during Operation Fourier to assist with hurricane reliefs. In August 2021, Trooper Malik, along with members of the State Police and Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness, were deployed to Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst right here in New Jersey during Operation Allies Welcome to assist with the 16,500 Afghan refugees that were evacuated from Afghanistan. You know, a lot of Afghan refugees came here in 2021 from Afghanistan, and the officer was involved in that rehabilitation. During that operation, Sergeant Malik was part of the cultural awareness team, initially providing linguistic assistance to the United States Air Force and instructed on topics relevant to assimilating to life in the U.S., while simultaneously working with numerous interfaith and community-based organizations to collect approximately 10 million of donations to assist the refugees with their new life in the United States. In 2020, he was tasked to assist with the managing and tracking of decedents with the New Jersey Medical Examiner's Office and the New Jersey Army National Guard. And also, he worked in other places. He graduated from the 152nd State Police class and was a General Road Duty Trooper for 5 years, serving in Troop B in Somerville Station on the highway, and also Netcong Station, as well as in Troop D, Newark Station on the New Jersey Turnpike. Sergeant Malik is a founding member and president of the New Jersey Muslim Officers Society, New Jersey, first and the nation's second fraternal organization representing American Muslim law enforcement officers. The society aims to strengthen relations between law enforcement and the community. Sergeant Malik's family is originally from Pakistan, and he is the first Pakistani American to serve as a trooper in the New Jersey State Police. Takbir. That's a long list of introduction. But you know the shortest introduction? He's my favorite student. In 2001, August, we met first. I met his dad, his mom. They're very close to me. They're like my brother and sister, his mom and dad. And when I moved to New Jersey, I joined Al-Ghazali High School. He was in 9th grade in Al-Ghazali High School. The first day of school, are you listening, kids? Yeah. Listening? No, you're not kid. First day of school, he was sitting in the front in my class. And I taught him Islamic studies, Arabic, Quran. Every time in my class, he used to pay attention, no talking. And I never had any problem with him 4 years in my class. And the first day that I saw him in class, I knew the spark. There's not to praise him in his face. I saw the spark in his eyes for community service. I knew he wanted to do something for the ummah, the larger ummah. And I knew he wanted to do something for community, the Muslim community. And right after school started, the biggest event in the world happened, which you kids were not born at that time, but your parents know. It's called 9/11. 9/11 happened, and he was a 9th grade student over there in Islamic High School, Ghazali. And then the journey from there has been all history. So it is a great honor and privilege for me that Trooper Sergeant Malik accepted our invitation and he's here. You know, sometimes they say that the student praises the teacher or the student is recognized by the teacher. It gives me great honor and pleasure to be introduced as the teacher of the student tonight. That Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless this young person in America, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. And the reason of inviting him tonight is that we want to do a conversation, a dialogue, not an interview, to show these young kids, this is the future of America. And young kids should learn about how they can contribute. I'm not saying you have to be a police officer. I'm not saying you have to be a senator or a congressman. I'm not saying you have to be a mayor or a freeholder or a municipal council or council member or assemblywoman or assemblyman. What I'm saying is, as American Muslims born and raised in USA, it is our duty to contribute to the society that we live in. And it's our duty to be engaged in this society. So many of the questions will revolve around how Trooper Sergeant Malik today is at this stage, and how you can learn, you kids can learn from him and be inspired and motivated. I remember when he was in 9th grade, I think hardly we had that many Muslim police officers back then, 2001. And today we have so many Muslim police officers. So our Muslim community in America has come of age, and I think we have to go to the next level, 2.0. So the purpose of tonight's program, dear parents, father, mothers, you know, and elders, is so that we can portray to the society. MCNJ wants to be a leading masjid where we are part of the community and teach other masajid how to have civic engagement, how to have contribution. We're not just in this country to come here and earn and have a living and have a nice house, nice car, nice family, nice life. Rasulullah ﷺ said also that we should contribute, as Muslims, we should contribute to the society. When he migrated from Mecca to Medina, actually Yathrib, which then became Medina, he encouraged the Sahaba to participate in the livelihood of Yathrib. There's a very famous hadith of Rasulullah. He said, "Man lam yahtam bi amrina fahuwa laysa minna." Whoever does not have a concern for the affairs of Muslims in the local community, local society, then they are not from my ummah. So Rasulullah categorically is disassociating and disconnecting from the person who remains aloof, isolated. We cannot live in this country in a bubble. We cannot live in isolation. And we have to teach our kids, this future of America, future generation, we have to teach them that this is your country, our country. You have to participate here. You have to engage in here. You have to think big. Next 20 years, 40 years, these kids will be running the masajid, running the community, be the leaders of the society. They have to be properly trained, ingrained, how Islam teaches us to balance life and service together, which relates to the khutbah that I gave today earlier, if you were here in Jummah, that we are a ummah of balance and moderation. And ummah of balance and moderation means that we are a role model for other communities, other immigrant societies who came to this country. So we have that. With that, inshallah, we'll start with the first question that I have for Sergeant. If you can tell us, what role did your parents play in shaping your future and who you are today in society?
So, assalamu alaikum, good evening everyone. To my respected teacher, thank you for the invitation. To all of you guys, I'm sorry for the long introduction. It makes it look like I can't hold down a job. But thank you for your time and thank you for having me here. It's an honor and a pleasure. As far as the questions go, we're going to get through these, but like we talked about last night, I'm actually very much looking forward to hearing the questions that you guys have. So once we wrap this up, hopefully quickly, we're going to communicate with you guys and see what you guys have for me, and vice versa, because I may ask some questions back. My parents had a very strong, very powerful influence on my life as a child. Everyone has a different relationship with their parents. Everyone's family dynamics are different. My mother's prayers, first and foremost, have helped me many, many, many times. There have been many oh shoot moments in my professional career where I knew that was the difference between making it home okay and not making it home okay. This profession is inherently dangerous. I think everyone knows that. But regardless of which faith, I think it's very important to have some faith, whatever your beliefs are, in order to be successful and survive in this profession. My father's influence was one that I actually don't have to look far from in order to find a role model. My work ethic, my dedication, my hustle or my drive comes from my dad. His big thing was when we were younger, he never pushed us to do something specific, but his famous words were, just be the best at whatever it is that you're gonna do, because nobody remembers number two. And so I try to take that with me as far as I can take it in life, and their influence is constant. Getting into this profession, it was a very interesting conversation that we had initially, but once we had it, my parents, my father specifically, was my biggest and is my biggest supporter.
The other question, next one, very important, related to this, connecting to this question, is born and raised in Brooklyn, how did you feel growing up as an American Muslim youth in this country to contribute towards our society?
So I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in the Coney Island section, and when I was 10, my parents moved us from Brooklyn to New Jersey. We lived in Bergen County, I still do. My drive to serve our community comes from my father. My dad's push to help our people in whatever way we're able to is what drove me to eventually wind up where I wanted to be or where I am today. I didn't always know that I wanted to be a police officer and eventually a trooper, but it's where I wound up.
When was that turning point in your life when you said, I want to be a trooper, or I want to go in to be a police officer?
So I went to Rutgers University, started in 2005. My first semester there, I started working for the police department, simply because it was the highest paying job on campus. I figured if I could work and go to school at the same place, it was less driving to go somewhere else. So while I was doing that, I met a professor who was a retired Newark police captain. And one day the conversation started after class, and he asked if this was something that I considered, which truthfully I didn't really consider it much. He planted the seed, and over the course of the semester we had a very productive dialogue. I think that, coupled with the fact that I was already working for a police department, slowly led to me wanting to do what our Imam said, which was to give back to our community. So it started as a freshman in college, and then by the time I winded up graduating from college, I applied to the police department at Rutgers. They were hiring. I went to the academy. I became a police officer. I was there for about a year, and truthfully, the story of the state police is actually very ironic. I didn't always plan on being a trooper. I actually didn't know what they did. But a friend of mine from college wanted to go take the test, but he didn't want to go take the test by himself. So I signed up to go take the test with him, so he didn't take the ride by himself. So I passed the physical test, then the written test I took with him, and we passed that. And 9 months later, I wound up in the academy, and that was about 12 and a half years ago from today.
Use this one better. I've spoken to many kids today, and I try to encourage them to become a police officer. One of the biggest jitters or fear they have is that, no, you have to use a gun, you get a shootout, it's a very dangerous job. You mentioned that in your answer right now, it is a dangerous job. So these youngsters who feel scared to go in this line of law enforcement or policing, what advice can you give now that you've been for almost, 2 decades or almost in this line, to the jitters and nervousness and fears that these kids have and say, no, I don't want to go in that line. I'm too scared to be shot or something like that?
So going into law enforcement is a inherently dangerous thing, as I mentioned, but in my humble opinion, it's one of the most noblest, honorable professions on the face of this earth. You have the ability to change lives one interaction at a time. You have the ability to serve your community from a very unique perspective. It is the most scrutinized profession on the face of the earth, but you will also see and meet some of the most amazing and incredible people working alongside of you. All of the training that you receive is done with a purpose. All of the tools that you're equipped with are given to you for a reason. So yes, in theory, it is inherently dangerous. There are risks involved, but there are risks involved with any profession. Some of them may not be physical. They may be things that you cannot see, but it is something that is open to anyone, but it's not for everyone. So if it's not for you, it's okay. But for those of us that potentially may have an interest in it, it's important to ask the questions that you want to ask so that you can become comfortable going down that path if that's what you choose to do.
Many kids have asked me that you have to have a law degree or some kind of law studies to be a police officer. Can you clarify that misconception or myth?
Yes, so in order to become a police officer in the state of New Jersey, if you choose to become a local police officer, most municipalities, for example, we'll use Woodbridge because that's where we're sitting today, they run by the civil service test. When you sign up for the civil service test, you have to be 18 years old, you have to have a high school degree, and that's all that's required. When you go to the state police, you have to be 21 years old, and you have to have at least 60 college credits. So you don't necessarily need a full 4-year degree, although most people come in with a bachelor's degree. You don't need it. You don't need a law degree. You don't need a major in criminal justice. You just need either a high school diploma for a local police department, and you need 60 college credits regardless of your major to be eligible to go to the State Police Academy. My personal recommendation, something I did not know, something I always take the time to correct others. If you have the ability to do something besides criminal justice, that's what you should do. Don't pigeonhole yourself and don't limit your options to criminal justice. You don't need that. Whatever you do need to learn, you'll learn in the police academy, and then once you graduate, you'll have a field training officer. You'll learn that with them. Having a degree in math, science, engineering, English, or something other than criminal justice will only help you be a better, more well-rounded, qualified candidate, and it will actually help you when you are interacting with different people. In this job, you deal with some of the most marginalized individuals, people that come from nothing, that have nothing, and then you deal on the other end of the spectrum with people that have anything and everything that you can imagine and everything in the middle. You deal with people from all different parts of the world, different cultures, different ethnicities, different backgrounds, and different faiths. And it's your responsibility to try to make yourself as well-rounded as possible so that when you have these interactions that you can hopefully make a positive impact by you being involved in that interaction than having a negative impact.
Furthering this conversation and topic, can you inspire our youngsters by sharing some of your, you can say, the best moments you had in law enforcement so that they can hear from you stories of your, the career and on the job? Just maybe 1 or 2 incidences that you would like to share with them, which are your best moments, you'll love it. Yes.
This job is, as I said before, one of the most scrutinized professions in the world. No other profession, whether it's medicine, engineering, or anything else, asks of you to put on a vest, get dressed up, and then potentially not come home. No other profession asks you to record every interaction that you have frame by frame and then have it scrutinized by other people after you've had these interactions. Despite all of that, it is still one of the best professions, and here's why. Initially, as a younger trooper, or a police officer, you want to help others, you want to give back to your community. And you can do that when you're out on patrol. Every interaction that you've had, every time you have the opportunity to put a bad guy in handcuffs, to have an opportunity to change or make a difference in someone's lives. So it's not just the car chases, it's not just the foot chases. Those are things that you do, adrenaline-packed things that other people don't get to do. So it is a lot of fun. But beyond that, you have the ability to help other people. There was an occasion I had, something positive that occurred, delivering a baby. So instead of taking a life which people associate with this profession, 5 o'clock in the morning, we just started our shift. Somebody was having a baby. We were there. They weren't able to make it to the hospital. So we were there to help deliver a child. There was another time, there was a person in distress. He was thinking of committing suicide. Ironically enough, it was somebody from our faith, and it was somebody that was from the same country that my family's from. He was going through a lot, and I was able to relate to him, and we sat on the side of the highway for, about an hour, hour and a half, and we helped him change the course of his life. The text message that he sent me was almost 10 years ago today. still have it saved. It's probably one of the most rewarding things. Small interaction, didn't say much, listened more than anything else, but was able to help him get through the moment that he was trying to get through.
That's great, mashallah, amazing. See, there's a lot of things that you can do while you are a police officer. I would ask, what advice would you give to our youth today in how they can contribute to American society, to our community? Just general advice as a, you can say, balancing between faith and your duty in law enforcement and also in civic engagement.
Faith is something that I personally hold very near and dear to my heart. As I said before, this profession tests you, it pushes you to the limits, and regardless of whatever faith you have, I have people that I work with of all different faiths and backgrounds. You need faith to be able to survive what you encounter and what you endure. I am unapologetically Muslim. That is my faith, that is who I am, and there are a lot of parallels between our faith and this profession that I've chosen. Everything that you guys know, and you probably know more about our faith than I do, but discipline, structure, punctuality, hygiene, cleanliness, all of the things that our faith preaches, kindness, empathy and compassion, dignity and respect, those are all things that are in line with this profession. There is not a difference, but in fact a very large parallel that occurs between law enforcement and our faith. It actually helps become a better law enforcement officer because these are values that we don't learn in the academy. These are values that we are, all of us in this room, are brought up with from childhood, hopefully.
Usually some people ask question, if you did not choose law enforcement, what other career would have you choose?
I don't know. I don't know. I know initially this is not what I had chosen or not something that I have thought about, but this is why we believe in Allah, and I believe that I was put in the place where I was supposed to be at. Personally, I haven't worked a day in my life for the last 13 years, and I say that because, and I do work a lot, but I say that because every day is filled. I love the profession that I'm in. I have a great time. I work with incredible people. There is a bond in this profession that you have between military, law enforcement, where these are guys that you have met that come from all different places, but they will always support you. They will always have your back, and you will figure things out on the fly. Very dangerous situations, but you will stick together and figure out how to get out of these situations, how to help one another. This is not something that's common in other professions, unfortunately, but it is very common. So I appreciate the relationships that I've built from all different walks of life. I appreciate the ability, the opportunity that I have to share our faith and our culture with a lot of the guys that I work with. When I first started in 2013, there were probably 3 other Muslim troopers out of 2,800. Today, 2025, there's about 3,400 troopers, and there's about 17 or 18 Muslim troopers. So still not a lot, but we're getting there. Last year, we had our first iftar that the state police held. It was the first state police iftar held by any state police agency in the country. Also last year, we held a Ramadan crescent lighting event. Again, that was also the first Ramadan crescent lighting ceremony held by any state police agency in the country. This is something that is our obligation to do, to share what we value in our faith and share it with others. And at the same time, whatever I value or hold true as a trooper, it's my obligation and responsibility to bring to you guys, to let you know what we do day in and day out.
You know, it mentions here in your bio that you worked on the highways initially in the first years. So you must be pulling over people on Turnpike, on Parkway, or, 287. I would like to ask you, if you ever stopped somebody and they were Muslim, how did they react to you when they saw, a Muslim state trooper? Do you have any moments, a light moment, like they were like shocked, or they were trying to say that, okay, let me go because you're Muslim or something like that?
So, for the most part, those interactions did happen, but when you're on the side of the road and you have a hat on and they can't actually see your name tag, they don't know who you are. So the interaction goes as objectively and as fair as it should with everybody else. So regardless of what somebody's faith is, if they're Muslim or not, or whatever their beliefs are, it doesn't actually matter. What matters is what offense occurred, how they treat you during the interaction, right? If they're respectful, polite, and courteous, then that interaction is going to go very smoothly. So those are things that not just myself, but no trooper takes into account when they're working.
Very good. I wanted to let you all know that, because a lot of people ask me, that if a Muslim police officer stops, Imam said, can we ask them for some privileges? So it's good you mentioned that. You mentioned you are unapologetically Muslim, and you mentioned about iftar and the crescent lighting. One of the questions that people have in mind is, how do other police officers view Muslim police officers in state police or any law enforcement? Can you share some moments of your camaraderie or your other fellow colleagues, which you can give our audience tonight a kind of behind-the-scene perspective that how Muslim police officers are looked upon amongst their peers and also with other communities? I mean, as a police officer, you may have gone on the spot at some scene where there are non-Muslims, and when they see your badge or name tag, and they think, because people in this country back in 9/11 thought that Muslims are disconnected, they're not part of the community, but when they saw Muslim police officers, did that change their mindset and perspective?
So we're going to start this off by being very open, honest, and transparent. That's one thing you're always going to get from me. And this is a very hard conversation to have. A lot of people don't, regardless of the community, don't want to have this conversation with the police, or sometimes the police don't want to have this conversation with members of the public. We're not perfect, and I always say that. Our colonel says that, the colonel of the state police, wherever he goes, the first thing he says is, we're not perfect, but we're very good at what we do. And whatever happened in the past, in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, we are fixing what we have done wrong as an agency. Part of that is being able to interact openly and have these hard topic conversations about race and fair treatment and lack of bias or bias. When I first became a trooper, there wasn't much known about the Muslim community other than what a lot of the troopers that I worked with saw on the news. And I didn't talk about it initially because I thought it was more important to just be who I was quietly, and not in hiding, but just not openly talk about it, and just show up to work. So my first year, my first 2 years, I showed up to work, and I tried my best to work harder than everybody else. And eventually, the state police is one of those organizations, just like any other professional organization. Once you establish yourself by hard work, no one cares where you're from. No one cares what your beliefs are. No one cares what you look like. Either you're a worker or you're not. And either you're a part of the team that's going to be a team player, or you're a one-way individual. And in our organization, one-way individuals don't work out well. Everybody is supposed to be a team player. That's what the academy teaches you for 6 months. That's also what our faith teaches us, right? To be team players. So I didn't focus on anything but just trying to be a good team player. When I had 2 years on, I was transferred to the Turnpike, and that was a pivotal point in my career. And we started to have open conversations because it was a very diverse station. We had white, black, Hispanic, Asians, Muslims, Jewish troopers, Christian troopers, Catholic troopers, and it was always a productive, open, and unfiltered conversation. Food, we never ate alone. For 10 years as a trooper, my first 10 years, never had a meal by myself, ever. Never ate in the car, never ate by myself. It was always with the guys. We always made it a point to eat together. And what did we pick? Sometimes we picked foods from their cultures. Most of the time, we picked food from our culture. And the principle of what halal meat is and what halal food is, and it's not just from a certain country, but it's just a type of meat and what it entails, is something that most troopers can now tell you because of all the interactions that we've had together and by eating together and by spending time together. When I fasted, I was the person on the squad that had the schedule to make whatever time we ate. It was just something informally that we did with one another. So I like to eat early. I didn't like to, when we worked midnights, I didn't like to eat late. So 7:15, 7:30, I had everybody come in and we would sit down and we would eat. When Ramadan came around, I told the guys, I said, hey, you guys eat, but it's going to be around 8:15, 8:30 till, and I think one year was like 8:45 till I could eat. And what did they do? So I expected them to start eating. I came back in around 8:15, the trays were laid out, the food was there, and nobody was eating. And they were like, hey, we're waiting for you because we know what time you got to wait.
Wow, mashallah.
So that is the stuff that you don't hear about. These are the stories and the examples that you won't hear about. and I'm giving you my personal experiences. I'm not saying that every person has all good stories or all good examples. I'm sure there are other examples, but I can only share with you what's happened to me, what's transpired with my interactions and my experiences. And they've been 99% positive with the guys. Jummah prayer. So if we're working on the road and it was in my patrol area, like the Imam mentioned, I would stop by for Jummah. These guys would come, they would stand in the back, they would sit in the back eventually because they got comfortable. They would listen, they understood what it was to come to the masjid. Never forced them, never asked them, but their eyes were on the clock more than my eye was. So 11:30, 11:45, hey, you have to go, you have to go. And I said, no, I know what time I have to go, man. You're good, don't worry, I got it. 12:15, are you there yet? I'm like, yeah, I'm there, don't worry, we're good. If you want to come, you can come. And they would come, and thankfully we worked in different areas, and there's a lot of masjids in New Jersey, about 152 masjids. So we were able to stop at different places and pray, and it was an opportunity for them to see what our house of worship was like. And if they had questions, naturally, they worked with me, they knew my kids, we were friends outside of work. They're gonna ask the questions. Sometimes, you know, we would go to churches or synagogues. It's hard for me to ask a question to somebody else, but to my guys that I work with, it's very simple. So I was very honored and humbled that I was able to answer questions about our faith to them. Most of the time, if I didn't have an answer, I would tell them, and I would get them an answer in a reasonable amount of time. I would call the Imam, or I would call somebody that would have an answer. And it was always an open dialogue and an open learning experience for all of us involved.
Very good. My last question before we open the floor, so get ready with your questions while I finish my last question with the sergeant. If you want to ask a question, just raise your hand. We'll have the mic come to you with a volunteer. So don't just blurt out the question from there in the back. Just wait until we get there, okay? My last question is, how do you see Muslims contributing to our society today, and what can they do better? Because you worked at Fort Dix, you went to Puerto Rico, you worked in a lot of community policing and all that. So what advice would you like to give to our community, our society?
I think the number one thing is to be involved in whatever way you're able to be involved. All of us, every single person in this room has a talent or an ability. Some of us are good in our professions, whether it's medicine, engineering, some of us are in politics and law. Whatever your chosen path is, figure out how you can utilize that to help give back to our community and serve. I think the best way sometimes to find yourself is to serve others. That's mentioned not just in community policing perspective or community building or politics, but it's also mentioned in our faith very heavily, to try to give back to others through kindness, compassion, and empathy, and just being involved. If you don't put yourself at the table, no one's gonna come ask you to join to sit at the table. So figure out what you can do to offer your community and serve others, and then come have a seat at the table.
MashaAllah, very good. Sisters downstairs, if you have any question, please text it to Brother Uzair or Brother Najib, and they will then pass it on to me and will ask. Anyone here from the brother side, raise your hand if you have a question. You have a question? Can somebody pass the mic to him? Saleh, come here. I can use my son for this purpose. Give him the mic, this young boy over here, then this young boy.
Have you ever gone to a shootout before?
Oh, you can use this one.
Okay, thank you.
Saleh, get the mic, yeah.
No shootouts. There have been a lot of close calls or close situations, but thankfully there's been no shootouts.
All right, this one, next, go ahead. Please announce your name. Sorry, I forgot to ask your name. Announce your name, then ask question.
Muhammad Musa.
Muhammad Musa. All right. What's your question?
How do you know that people are bad guys?
That's good. That's actually a very, very good question. So some of it comes from training, that you are taught what to look for, and a lot of it comes from experience. And the more you spend time out on the street, observing people and having interactions with people, you learn to figure out certain behaviors that certain bad people may have. And then based on that training, you learn how to interact, because you can't just look at somebody and assume that they're bad. There has to be more involved. And so then you start to speak to them, or you start to watch them, and then you try to figure it out. So think of it as having to put a puzzle together. There's a lot of different little components, and when you're trying to do your puzzle, you have to put all the pieces together little by little. but you have to do that within the confines of the law or having rules and regulations. You can't do whatever you want. You have to follow the rules. We do. We have to follow rules and regulations, and then also use the training and the experience that we're taught in the academy and put it all together.
MashaAllah, very excellent.
That was probably one of the best questions. How old are you?
MashaAllah. Big takbir for Muhammad Musa, please. Allahu Akbar. Next, this brother here. Announce your name and then wait for him first.
My name is Ayan.
Okay, and what's your question?
So, how do you become a Muslim?
I'm going to let the Imam answer that question.
All right, thank you for the question. How you take the mic, Saleh. Keep the mic in your hand, don't give it to the kids. How do you become a Muslim? You pray 5 times a day, right? You come to the masjid, participate in classes, come to Sunday school, Saturday school, come to maktab, read Quran, understand the Arabic language, have classes. This is all part of being a Muslim. Main thing is to be attached with the masjid here. Your parents brought you here tonight. They did a great job. So being connected with your masjid is very important. I can tell you, when I was teaching at Ghazali High School, me and Mudduser, every Friday night we go to ICPC, remember? And I would even let him drive my car sometimes. So that's a pet secret, okay? So this way we would go to the masjid Friday night, ICPC, attend program there, then go for like dinner or something at the restaurant. This is being a Muslim. All right. Next question. Go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is.
Don't look at me. Look at him.
My name is Sufyan. Was it challenging? Was it challenging to become a state trooper or no?
Yes.
It was.
Yes, Sufyan, it was. It was very difficult. So I went to 2 academies. I went to a municipal police academy where I was a police officer for 1 year, and then I left that department and I went to the state police academy. So just to give you context and to give the parents in the room context, municipal police academies have a 90%, 95% success rate. Only 5% of the people drop out. The state police has a 40% failure rate. So my class on April 22nd, 2013 started with 155 people. When we finished in October of 2013, we graduated with 90 people. So we lost 40% along the way. There's sleep deprivation, there's a lack of food, there's a lot of exercise, and it is just making you do things that you don't want to do because it's hard, and just seeing if you're going to quit or if you're committed to it and you're just going to keep up. It's not impossible, but it is hard, and then the secret to all of it is to look around to your left and to your right and to look at your classmates that are with you and seeing them being in the same position that you're in and using that as fuel or motivation to know that you can get through it as well. And it goes back to the initial question that we talked about camaraderie and being close with one another. When you go through that type of an experience together and you live together for 6 months, you become very close and bonded with each other. So it's hard, it's difficult, but it's not impossible.
Next, he was waiting. Go ahead, give it to him. Then after him, it's you. Only one question per person. I know you already asked once. Let's give other people a chance. Go ahead.
My name is Ayub, and my question was, is there any other way to, like, figure out if it was a robbery, if there was a robbery before calling the police, besides cameras?
So it's a good question. Just clarify for me a little bit more.
Like, so if there was a robbery that was claimed and there was like cameras, but besides the cameras, is there any other way to figure it out?
Yes.
So your question is about
Detective
evidences.
work, investigating. You're gonna ask questions. You're gonna find witnesses. You're gonna find potential suspects, and you're gonna talk to them. And as a detective, you're gonna ask questions that you need to ask to help further your investigation. You have to, again, like I was telling Musa, you have to stay within the confines of the laws. As a person, whoever the suspects that you are interviewing, they have rights, and you have to respect their rights, and you have to observe them. But at the same time, there's things that you're allowed to ask, and it's your job to put the pieces together by asking the right questions at the right time, and then gathering evidence, and then using that evidence to hopefully either get a confession or to find a corroborating witness that can attest to what just happened. Cool.
So we'll take one more question from the young boy here, then we'll go for adults, inshallah. There are some in the back. We'll take.
My name is Amar. I have a question that when did you decide to become a police officer?
I think he answered that already.
Did you weren't paying attention? It's not good. When I was in college.
At what age?
At what age?
Oh, okay, age. Okay.
Say 19. And then I became a cop at 23. So it took a couple years for me to finish school, and then I start after that.
All right, give him the mic. We have our brother in the back with the glasses. Saleh, go all the way there, inshallah. He has a question. By the way, mashallah, I'm very, very happy and overwhelmed by the response. I thought that it's going to be empty tonight. Nobody's going to come. Who wants to talk to a police officer? But this is, I just want to let you know, this is something new I'm trying today. I know usually you're used to listening to me like a lecture or bayan or talk. But I told the masjid management I want to try something different. I want to thank the management for allowing me to try something different. I saw this program at another masjid in another state. It was very successful. So I said, let me try it MCNJ, that we invite someone from public service and interview them. So thank you very much for coming. I know people get bored by listening to the talk and lecture again and again. So if I want to have a question for you, do you like this program tonight? You want to repeat something like this in the future? Yes or no? Yes. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. All right. So next time we'll bring someone else, another public service person, Muslim. We'll bring them. We'll have an interview with them, inshallah. Go ahead, please. Announce your name and then your question.
My name is Ahmed.
If you can stand up, please, so that Sergeant can see you, inshallah.
My name is Ahmed Said, and the question is, there's a big misconception that being a Muslim and a cop contradicts itself. What's your opinion on that? What do you think when someone wants to be a cop and they're Muslim? Do you think it contradicts or not?
I don't think it contradicts at all. I think all faiths, regardless of what they are, push and promote service to others. And I think this profession is a service to others in humanity, regardless of beliefs or views or opinions. Nobody cares who shows up when they need help. You don't really call the cops when you're having a great day, unless you know them. You usually call the cops when you need help. And the only thing that matters in those dark moments is if the person that's showing up is able to respond and do so in the right way to help you out. Beyond that, the basis of this foundation and the basis for our faith are very parallel. I think it's just about being fair, being respectful, being truthful, and having the desire to help others. And I think that's parallel both in faith and in profession.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, Uzair Umarzai. What mosques, Muslim schools and similar Islamic organization can do to encourage youth to join law enforcement, state police, military, and other kind of law enforcement?
We'll stick with the law enforcement part for police departments. I think one of the things that predominantly impact our specific community here is knowing or not knowing the benefits of this profession. Although it is a very noble profession, it's very honorable and respectful, at the end of the day, we all have mortgages to pay and we have families to take care of. A lot of people in our community are misled or just not informed the right way, respectfully, about the benefits that this profession holds. They don't realize that once you have your 25 years, you can retire. They don't realize you're making anywhere from 150, 200, 250 or more a year. If you're working overtime, you can make more than that. And then at the age of 47, 48, 49, you're done. That's it. You get 65% of that for the rest of your life. They don't realize that you have the take-home car or that you have all these other extra benefits that come with it. So you don't have to go to 8 years of school to have a respectful job. You don't have to have all those things. You have to have the minimum qualifications. You have to survive the academy. You have to go through field training. But then you have the ability to make an impact. And you have the ability to do that while you make a good, honest living for your family.
Yes, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sabih. I have a question. If there is any set numbers in the police force that you have to take from the certain communities, meaning you have to have, if there are Indian communities, so you have to have certain number of Indian officers to select, or
You mean like quota system? There's a quota for
if there is a
Muslims
quota
to
system or not in the police department?
So there's no quota system, but there is a very, very big push to allow the department to reflect accurately the community that it serves. So whatever the dynamics or demographics of that respective community are, the push for that department is to hire people that are reflective of that community as long as they're qualified, as long as they're able to get to the academy. Because the last thing you want, and this is just the truth, is someone that looks like you but has no idea what they're doing when they show up. Right? When those dark moments, like the brother before mentioned when we addressed his question, you want someone to show up, but you want someone to show up that's qualified and that has the ability to help you out in your situation. But in the last 10 years or so, the state police included, and a lot of local departments, they are pushing for more diversity, so their department is able to better reflect the community that they serve.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abid Shehzad. I have a question. What is the difference between verbal warning and written warning? And sometimes I feel like some police officer bias, and sometimes when you talk them politely, they go in a car, they check your ID nicely. If you tell them I'm working here and I'm rushing, be honest as much, they let you go. But some don't, So I experienced that a couple of times.
Okay, so the first part of the question was the difference between a verbal warning and a written warning. Essentially, they're the same. They don't impact your driving record. A verbal warning is he's just telling you to slow down. A written warning is just you getting a receipt for that interaction occurring. But there's no difference or impact on your driving record by either of those. So that's the first part of your question. The second part of your addressing bias. Every single person in this room is biased. Every person in this world is biased. It's just about having the ability and the control to manage your bias and not allow it to impact your decision-making process, especially when it comes to in this profession. What you were experiencing was not necessarily biased. It was called discretion. Police officers, more than probably any other profession, have a huge ability to utilize discretion. So although you were being respectful and honest and truthful, and I'm not saying that you weren't, one officer was using his discretion and letting you go. The other officer, under the same circumstances, was using his discretion as well, or her discretion as well, and just deciding that you did mess up and that they're going to enforce the law. So there's a difference between bias, which is not allowed, and utilizing discretion, which is allowed and encouraged, and only not allowed for certain types of cases.
Just one last question, because the brother buzurg hai kafi din se haath utha ke wait kar de. The brother is our senior citizen. He was waiting for a long time. Last question for tonight.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Islam Akem. I want to question different type. Have you ever experienced that you are running behind the victim?
You are running behind the victim. Is that what you're saying?
Charming story I like to experience.
Security, you said?
I want to know any story you have, you are running behind the victim.
Oh, he wants to know if you have any story or anything to tell about when you were running behind victim or the aggressor, I think. Chasing the bad guy.
Yeah.
Chasing bad guy. You have any story of chasing a bad guy with your lights on, going
Like
100?
I cannot punch out.
I have a lot of stories, and we can talk about that for a long time. Chasing another car, chasing another person on foot or in the car, there's a lot of things you have to take into account. So on the outside, it just looks like we're having a good time chasing somebody. What you have to remember is you're chasing somebody, you're responsible for their safety, you're responsible for your own safety, you're also responsible for the guys behind you. While you're driving fast, and state police, most of our chases are on the highway, so they are very fast. You're updating on the radio what you're doing, what your speed is, what your location is. You're also updating the roadway conditions, and that's per our policy. You're also doing this every few seconds, so you're figuring out where you are, where you need to be, and you're letting everybody know. Foot chase is the same way. You're letting people know where you are, where you're going, while your adrenaline is running, and you have to control that, right? You have to learn how to stay calm, cool, collected, and be responsible for everything. You also have to be responsible enough to know that if this chase is getting too dangerous or it's going to impact somebody negatively, that you got to cut it off, which is very hard to do. Nobody wants to lose, but sometimes you have to know that you have to cut it off. But there are other times when you wind up chasing somebody, you wind up getting that bad guy and putting them into custody, and you just took somebody that did something bad to somebody else off the street, and that's a very good feeling to have. You helped somebody out that day, and you found justice for somebody that wasn't able to get justice for themselves. That's what it's about.
Very good question, Rashid. Actually, I have a follow-up question on that, because I know the state troopers, you see state troopers on the highway with their flags flashing, they're going to a call, they're answering a call, and you see them driving very fast, and I know the engines are modified, the police trooper cars, the Ford Explorer, any other, Tahoe, they're modified to go fast. My question is, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, is that what's the top speed troopers have gone in that? Not necessarily you, but in general, troopers, because you must talk to each other. I was chasing that person, or I was going on a call, I was going at 120, 130. Just curious, what's the maximum speed they've gone up to?
Very exciting, yes.
I like your comment.
The truthful answer is whatever the top speed on that car is. So on the Caprice, it was 155.
Oh, Caprice has 155? I didn't know that.
At 155. Wow. The Explorer is at 132, so I was at 132. And whatever the top speed for that car is what we've done. Remember, though, while you're doing that, you're responsible for everything that's happening around you. And you have to weigh out a lot of things, right? You have to weigh out, is me responding to this call at 132 miles an hour worthy of that? Because if something goes south, then a lot of bad things could happen at that speed. But if it's somebody that needs help, if it's my partner, if it's somebody on my squad, then yes, it's worth it. So you have to weigh out a lot of things. There's a lot of responsibility that's put on your shoulders at a very young age when you come into this job. And the liability that you carry is very heavy. You just have to learn how to utilize it the right way.
Is that the reason we see many times police officers leave a chase? They just withdraw. They let the person go because it's getting too dangerous.
Yes.
Okay. When do they decide that?
That's decided in the middle of the chase.
The chase.
When traffic, for example, initially is light, then transitions into medium, and they still continue it. But then when it transitions into a heavy traffic area, at that moment it's decided it's just no longer safe. Just let it go, and there's no harm that comes from it. I think your question was about investigations, right? Before, we have a license plate, we have cameras everywhere, and now it's time to do some good detective work, figure out who evaded us or who eluded us, see where they live, find out who they are, and then take our time, and then when it's convenient for us, to go get them.
I know a lot of you have questions, but they're giving me a sign, ishara, that we have to start dinner. So please, you can ask one-on-one later on after we finish the program. Before we finish the program, there are some announcements. The sisters have a chai shai now every Tuesday, 7:30 to 8:30. It's for age 15 and above. So, a lot of you brothers have been saying for the last 2 years, when can our wives or our daughters can come? Now you know they can come on Tuesday to MCNJ 7:30 to 8:30. We have our own chai shai every Wednesday, as you know, after Salatul Isha. You can contribute for that. Talk to Brother Sohaib or Brother Najib, inshallah. Also, we have Saturday breakfast. Every Saturday we have Fajr and breakfast. We have tomorrow. We started last Saturday. Please come to Saturday Fajr and breakfast. And if you want to contribute to the breakfast, either by bringing croissants or bread or eggs or bananas, or if you want to contribute monetarily by money, please see Brother Sabi in the back, Brother Sajjad, or Brother Shoaib, inshallah. And before we disperse, can we request all of you to give a big round of applause for Sergeant Malik, please? Yes.
I do. I can speak Urdu. बोलने आती है, हाँ जी.
वो कह रहे हैं कि कभी आपने किसी को पकड़ा और स्पीडिंग के लिए और उसने आपको रिश्वत ऑफर की. He offered you a bribe to let you go.
नहीं, निकल उनको पता नहीं था और वो दूसरी चीजें कह रहे थे जो उनको नहीं पता था मुझे समझ आती हैं. I'll leave it at that.
Jazakallah khair. On behalf of the whole MCNJ community, we thank Sergeant Malik for coming tonight, mashallah. Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair. Inshallah. Yes. Right. You can set up the food, but if you have a question, I know the brother had a question, you can come forward, ask your question, sure. Please come forward and ask your questions.
Especially in the winter. Not really. But it's an informal way.
Like Islam, I guess.